Welcome to Baker Makes It. My name is Zach Baker, and in this episode, we are going to be continuing to get this holiday Rambler ready for paint. Lots of little projects, so stick around and you'll see what we're getting into. All right, the next step is to cut the old caulking out of the windows in some spots where it's failed. Thankfully, I did this a long time ago, so I found out that it failed before it got painted. But it looks like the issue is wherever the caulk was really thin, it just wasn't strong enough to support any sort of UV light on it. So we're gonna cut out those sections, cut the butyl tape back a little further, do a thicker bead of caulk. We're also going to, on the bunk windows, redo some of the rivets. Now that I have the pneumatic riveter, it works a lot better. And some of those just didn't grab really well. So we're gonna redo that and then re-caulk those as well. All right, new plan. That's not working. It's so thin that I'm basically just cutting into the butyl tape and it's starting to get sticky and tacky again. The good thing is the caulk and the butyl tape seem to have bonded really well, but we're just gonna run an all new bead on here, get a thicker layer, and that will accomplish the same thing. On the bunk windows though, I am gonna have to cut out where the butyl tape has oozed out through. So we'll cut that out, we'll re-rivet this, and then we'll go ahead and re-caulk all of this. All right, next up is going to be swapping out some lock cylinders. On this refrigerator opening, it's not actually a lock. It's just a little lever. And funny enough, they had this blocked off with this old tow away zone sign, and it's got some stripes from where I primed this thing. So we're going to replace weather stripping in here. We're going to clean this up a little, and probably before we paint, we're going to spray a little primer in here. So that any paint that does get in here will at least stick, and then we'll put some new weather stripping in. But the goal is to replace that little lever thing with an actual lock cylinder. We're also going to do it for this access door behind me, and I want to see if for the water supply door I can put the same one in. The advantage to that is that all three would be on the same key, and I won't have to have a million keys to do this. So we're going to see if we can get this apart. And then we've got these brand new ones. I got these on Amazon, pretty inexpensive. Just little lock cylinders that are all key to like, little locks. Looks like on this one, this little rusted part is a little retaining clip that holds this in. So I'm hoping I can come in here and just pop this out. Let's see here. Get that out. I'm hoping the rest of this just kind of comes out on its own. All right, I'm gonna put the phone down, but you get the idea. All right, let's go inside and figure out what we need. All right, that took a little bit of playing around with the way the lock spun. There's that little thing on the back that kind of determines the stops. What I didn't realize about these locks is that you can only take the key out when it's locked. So right now I can put it in and out. If I turn this, now it opens up. So we're good to go. We got one in. This is sitting really far in right now just because there's no weather stripping in it. So we'll go clean up all the edges of this, the inside and everything, put some primer on that, and then when we paint this thing, I'm not going to stress too much about getting paint into all those cracks because no one's really going to see it. But at least if the primer's there, it's protected and the paint will stick to it. So we're gonna go see if we can get the old lock off of the back access hatch, which I've actually never had open. So we're gonna do that from the inside. We'll try to bust that one off and then put a matching lock cylinder in that one. Success. That's awesome. Never had that door open before. So that is now key to light with the fridge. Last step is the water access door. Let's see if we can get a lock put in here. Working great. So I used the old one to match. The squares are different size, so I couldn't use this exact one, but I used this just for approximate size, and that worked out great. So the way this would work would be we'd attach our water hose to our hookup, and then you would come and lock it shut, and that would allow for the hose to come out and nobody to mess with it. Our next project is going to be a few more patch panels that I forgot to do last time, and just a bunch of little random rivets to close up some of the open holes. Moving on to this battery vent here. This was something I should have done from the inside before I rebuilt the back wall, but I just forgot. It looks like when I was getting a little bit of water in there that some of it may have been coming through here, but it's hard to tell. All we're going to do here is drill out these rivets, and then we're going to pop this off, build a cover for the back that we can butyl tape rivet onto the back, and then we're going to put this whole thing back on and seal it up. Alright, so I cleaned the back of this up. There was quite a bit of brown paint that used to be on the exterior in here, and then I've made a patch out of the roof coil aluminum, and I've run one piece of butyl tape all the way around, and that's going to serve two purposes. It's going to seal this to the camper, and it's going to seal the patch to this. So we're just using the one piece. Just have to make sure it's seated in here right. And so now this will be completely sealed up, and then we're going to use the same holes that it was riveted with before, and we'll drill through both layers so that everything is riveted together and securely attached. So inside, we need to come up with a new cover for the back of this. We've got a lot of paint that's come through from the last paint job, so we're gonna clean that up a little bit. And I've cut this patch just out of some extra roof coil. That's gonna get riveted onto here and butyl taped as well, so that should seal this up real well. Well, unfortunately my camera died in the middle of that, but we've got all of these rivets in. Did quite a few here to try to keep this tight. It's a little bit overkill, but it did make this panel tremendously stronger. This was really floppy before. And everything's, it's really loose right now because there's no weather stripping. We'll replace that after the paint. But on the back side here, we've got this whole piece on here, and we've got butyl tape sandwiched in there. So hopefully that'll keep any water out. But even if it did get in here, it would probably work its way out through here. So now what we're going to do is come along and just clean up the edge of this. There's still some of the old paint job on here. It looks like this was actually probably just plain silver from the factory. I don't see any white paint. So I think what we're going to do is just scuff this and then maybe come in with the airbrush and just prime the edges here. And same with in here. It's just kind of dirty, but just a little bit of that old paint. But I do think that was just bare aluminum before. So I don't know. We may not get into priming that. Or we might just prime it and then just whatever silver paint gets in there, and that's all we do. I don't think I care enough to get all the jams like perfectly masked and sprayed there. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna do the same thing for back here as well. Well, that about does it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to fix the cargo door. I did not know that was an issue because I waited so long to open it, but we're going to try some new hinges, some modern hinges that I think will look okay. We'll get them swapped in, and then it's just wash and scuff and prime and seam sealer, and then this thing's ready to go. So we're almost there. I know this isn't the most exciting part of this project, but prep is everything when it comes to paint. So we really want to make sure this is done right. One more episode of prep, and then we're going to jump into the paint here, so stick around.